one. One of many in the White House of Vampires, as we might call it. Thanks for joining us. Second hour Deadline Live is now here. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jack Blood. Phil Berg is with us. This morning, I heard our alleged president, cousin Barry Sotero Obama, at the National Prayer Meeting. And I do not have the clip, but this is what he said. We have to learn to be more civil. You cannot, if you're going to be civil, you can't question my citizenship, even if it disqualifies me from being president. Folks, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you this now. Impeachment is not likely. Otherwise, George Bush and Dick Cheney would have been impeached and tried for war crimes. Okay? These guys in 2012 will steal this election. They will suspend the election. This is it. It is the birth certificate or nada. I'm sorry, folks. Now, we can spend all of our time every day neutralizing this pack of vampires, or we could use the law. The law's on our side. Then I got this today from Phil Berg. Phil Berg is press release announcing a birth certificate march on Washington to demand Obama resign, as Obama is not constitutionally qualified to be president. And they call us birthers for even having this debate. Phil Berg is a long-standing activist, former deputy attorney general, I believe, in Pennsylvania. Also took on the cases of 9/11 family members, William Rodriguez and Ellen Mariani. Just a long history of doing what's right on the side for peace. He's also a Democrat, so he's not one of these Tea Party, teabagging Republicans. He just wants Obama to follow the law. Is that too much to ask? Phil Berg, thank you for joining us. It's been a while, buddy. I'm glad to see you haven't given up the fight.
My pleasure, and it seems that the White House, I guess I can take credit for it, reacted to my press release, because on the same day, and when someone told me what he said about citizenship, I said, well, let's make sure, because someone had it on the Internet, and I saw CNN keeps repeating it. He said, Obama says, do not question my civility, and then he paused, and then he says, or my citizenship.
Yeah.
Now, see, he's getting away from things. Citizen is one thing. What we're trying to question is, and part of it is, not is he natural born, pursuant to the Constitution. And Obama is not. Obama is a fraud. He's a phony. This is the biggest hoax in the history of our country. That's in over 230 years. And all this information is on my website, and I really need everyone's help.
Phil, I mean, I question at this point if he's even competent to do anything, let alone be president. He sat in this very same national prayer meeting and started talking about the sacrifices of our Navy corpsmen. I mean, he's reading from the teleprompter. He doesn't even know how to pronounce corpsman. He doesn't even know what he's talking about.
He really doesn't. I mean,
he is an incompetent boob, and a dangerous one.
Well, it's amazing, and he is dangerous. But the thing is that, and what I don't understand, and I think your listeners will listen and understand. I don't understand some of the Tea Party people. They don't want to deal with the birth certificate issue. And my point is this. I think the birth certificate issue, and not just because I'm the first one who brought it up and the first one to bring the lawsuit on it, but I think this is the rallying point for everyone in this country. And the reason we started this and we put out a press release, we're going to have a birth certificate march on Washington to demand Obama to resign. And what I'm asking for, and it's on our website, it's out in releases to many places, for people to fax, email, or mail me a copy of their birth certificate. Now, someone raised the question, well, with, they can take information. If you're not concerned, even black out part if you're concerned about someone taking some of the information. We're not going to. And when we gather them all together, we're going to present them, or we might have an actual march. We're seeing how many we can get. I really believe that if we can raise the public awareness, I don't believe the general public knows about this issue. But now that Obama mentioned it, I think it's another break, and I'm going to put another release out. If the general public knew that the birth certificate, which every one of your listeners must produce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in their lifetime, that Obama not only won't produce his birth certificate, he won't produce anything. He won't produce his medical records, his college records, nothing. He will not produce. We don't really know if he was really born on August 4th, 1961, because the only thing he put forth on that was a phony COLB, a certification of live birth, which our experts have determined is a phony. Now, just for your listeners, the difference between that and a real birth certificate, a real birth certificate has the weight of the baby, the length of the baby, the name of the hospital, the doctor's name, and the doctor's signature. And that's significant because none of that information appears on the false document they put up. And significant about that document is the fact that they put that document up in June of 2008, 2 months before I even got involved in this issue. And that's important because why did they put the document up? Because for a year and a half before that, it was circulating on the Internet the fact that he's not natural born. Now, and people keep saying the evidence. There's no evidence that he was born over in Hawaii. You notice the press kept the press away from his white grandmother, who happened to, she knows where he was born. She happened to pass away on election eve, if that's when she really passed away. There was such hush-hush about that. You don't know when she really died. But we're asking people to send to us. And also ask if I can, our website is obamacrimes.com, OBAMACRIMES.com, obamacrimes.com. When the show is over, not now, everyone, when the show is over, I would like your listeners to go to their address book and read my website and send my website to everyone in their address book and ask them to send it on. 10 to the 10th power gets in million. I believe about 20 million people in this country know about this. And I really have a problem with people like even the WorldNet Daily. WorldNet Daily is putting signs around the country which says, "Where is your birth certificate?" If you see that sign and know nothing about this, Jack, my opinion is you might connect it with immigration, but you're not going to connect it to Obama. The sign should read, "Obama, where's your birth certificate?" And if we can raise enough money, we'll put those kind of signs up. Because then someone can go home and Google or Yahoo or whatever, birth certificate and Obama. And the significance is that he's a phony. Now, aside from the birth certificate, the other major problem we have here is he was adopted or acknowledged in Indonesia, and he became a natural of Indonesia. Therefore, his legal name, as you mentioned earlier, is probably Barry Sotero. So if he hasn't legally changed his name, and stop, everyone out there, people know they have adopted or know people who have adopted children. When you adopt a child, that child takes your last name. So if he hasn't legally changed his name since that time, then his name's Barry Sotero. So then, therefore, he's committed fraud every time he signed his name to run for president in each of the 50 states and when he took office and everything he's doing. I believe he's a fraud. I believe he's a phony.
I mean, is it too much to ask?
Everything he's done. Well, go ahead.
Is it too much to ask just to be able to put forth these questions? Because we have been, I'm going to say you. I'm even nervous having you on today, Phil.
Why?
Well, because they've done such a great job humiliating anyone who would dare bring this up as a wingnut and a nutcase and a conspiracy. Even the 9/11 truthers don't want anything to do with this issue, okay? The Ron Paul people, no one they probably are mad at me for even talking about it on the show, but as far as I'm concerned, Phil, the issue isn't resolved. And this might be the only, I know how impeachment works. They won't do it because they're too scared that they will turn back around on them, and no one is going to do it, okay? They're too nervous about that. We will be stuck with this guy for the next 7 years or long, maybe forever. Like Hugo Chavez, president for life. This is the only way out. We can't let this go. I mean, just show us the goddamn proof, Obama.
Well, and the reason he hasn't shown it, okay, and the reason he has now spent over $1.6 million fighting my 3 lawsuits and the other 50 lawsuits that came around the country is he can't prove it. He can't produce it because it's going to show he was born in Kenya. In one of his books, he states that he found his birth certificate. He has his birth certificate. Remember, we're dealing with Obama, who's not a stupid person, okay? Obama was...
Well, that's debatable.
He went to Columbia... supposedly, Occidental, Columbia, and Harvard, who was head of the Harvard
Law. No one's seen him there. When Root was there, the vice presidential nominee for the Libertarian Party, Phil, he was at Columbia at that time. No one remembers the guy.
Right. That's a real issue. But we do know he was at Harvard Law because somehow they made him head of the Harvard Law Review, even though we haven't seen any article that he wrote. And after he graduated, he became an attorney, but he also taught constitutional law for 10 years. So, ladies and gentlemen, Obama knows what he is. He knows he's a fraud. He knows he's a phony. And I think we're getting to him by him making that statement today. So now what we need is the courts are taking time on my lawsuits. They're taking their good old time. I was knocked out on the Third Circuit, just affirmed the lower court saying I don't have standing. But by saying that, they say that Jack Blood doesn't have standing, and Jack, that none of your listeners have standing. Now think about it, ladies and gentlemen. That means that no one in the country can question the Constitution. I mean, under the 10th Amendment, it says anything else not delegated someplace else reverts to we the people. Well, we are we the people. So what I am asking, and I have a case, I'll talk about my other one in a minute, disagree, but I'm asking for the people in this country to unite around an issue here that when they have to register their child for Little League, a code doesn't work. They need a birth certificate. When you want to get a passport, you need your birth certificate. You need a birth certificate, depending on states and stuff, sometimes for baptism, sometimes for school entry, sometimes for military, sometimes for a job. An interesting story, and I think you're down there in Texas, aren't you?
That's right.
Okay, a woman sent me a thank you from Texas. She said, Phil, I want to thank you for everything you're doing. You're a patriot, all this kind of stuff. And I said, wonderful, But she says, let me relate this story to you. I took my son this summer and registered him for school, 13-year-old nephew. At the end of the time of the registration, my nephew said to me, can I ask you a question and ask him to the principal? The principal said, sure. He said, how come I had to show my birth certificate to register for school, yet Obama didn't have to show his to become president?
Pretty brave kid. I like that.
Now, but think about that. If a 13-year-old can identify with that, the general public should identify. And I think that most of the public doesn't know what's going on. And I think that if we can raise the public awareness, and I appreciate being on your show, and I like to be on as many times as I can because we got to keep mentioning this to people. If we can raise the public awareness to 75 million people or 100 million people. Now, there's 305 now, about 308 million people in this country, okay? So if we get it up to 75 or 100 million, there's 220 million people over the age of 18. If we can raise the public awareness, I think then we can actually have a real march on Washington. But at the present time, I'm asking people to fax, email, or mail me a copy of theirs. I think seriously, by my release going out today and at the prayer breakfast, when Obama said no one should question my citizenship, well, damn right we're questioning your citizenship because then, the easy way out, and I said this from day one, show me your birth certificate and I'll go away. But not your first. Show me a raw copy. Let the courts authorize to go to see the real record to see what it is. Listen, if any of your listeners lose their birth certificate, they can get a duplicate copy, can't they, for spending between $5 and $25. They can get one within a week. So who's who? Now, like I said, in his book, he mentions that he found his birth certificate. He also mentions that his stepfather returned to Indonesia before so he acknowledges those facts. We have his school record on our website, obamacrimes.com. His school record has his name as Barry Sotero. They have his nationality as Indonesian, and his religion being Islam. Now, he's come out and said, I'm not a Muslim. Well, he wasn't a Muslim until after he got elected, and now, he's basically kowtowing to the Muslims.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a total phony. He's a total
Phil,
fraud.
I mean, maybe he can dodge this whole issue if he just comes out and confesses who his real father is.
Well, no, I think we know his real father. I don't buy that other story that's going around. And also,
I don't buy Davis or whatever.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy all the other Social Security numbers going around. And every time that he and Michelle smile, you know what they're doing? They're laughing at all of us.
Yeah.
They're laughing at the citizens of this country. And
they are fiddling while Rome is burning. These guys have parties every night. It is unbelievable, the lavishness that this couple and this family enjoys in the White House at our expense. Now, Phil, you are having a march. Tell us about the march. And, again, your website, obamacrimes.com. Phil Berg with us. When is the march, and how do we participate?
Well, we don't have an exact date yet. We want to compile birth certificates. We want to show the American public, if you're concerned about identity theft, we're not going to do anything with it. Black out parts of the birth certificate you don't want. Please fax us a copy. It's on my website, and if you can post on yours, but it's not. It's on obamacrimes.com. Where to fax it, where to email it to, or where to mail it to. Mail it to us, and then we'll set a date whether we're going to actually just take them and present them, or what I would really like to do is have like 1 million or 2 million individuals come to Washington with a copy of the birth certificate and surround the White House, demand it from him, and if he doesn't do it, let him go out the back of the White House and, like Nixon, get on a helicopter and fly away to Never Land. Now, remember, like Nixon. Nixon went down not because of the break-in. Nixon went down because of the cover-up. And, Jack, we're now 12 months, going to the 13th month of the Obama presidency, which is now a cover-up. So remember, it's the secondary offense in getting. So he's now covering up all this stuff. He's a phony. The other case which I have in Washington is significant. It's under the False Claims Act, or QUITEM. Many people can identify with that case based upon the fact that it's usually done in case of Medicaid or Medicare fraud. But in this case, it's significant because that type case has already been up to the U.S. Supreme Court, where they have said the person bringing that suit, in this case Bill Berg, as a relator, has standing. And I'm alleging there that Obama is not only not natural born, not naturalized, but an illegal alien, and therefore his term as a United States Senator from Illinois was fraud. And therefore the money and benefits he received, totaling nearly $1 million, should be returned to the United States Treasury. And that case is significant. So we set this forth on ObamaCrimes.com. I need your listeners to participate. So send us your birth certificate. We can together, and tell your friends and neighbors, if we raise the public awareness, I think we got to Obama even today. Maybe they got a copy of my press release because they were sent out overnight.
We're addressing it. You're right, yeah.
And why today did he address it? But he addressed it today, but don't question my citizenship. We are questioning not only your citizenship, because, see, I think they got to, he knows about that case, illegal alien. And significant in that case, I said there's a definite conflict of interest, because who's ruling against us right now? The judge can't. It's like input from the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office. Well, who's the Attorney General? Eric Holder. Now, Eric Holder was on Obama's campaign staff. If there ever was a conflict of interest, he was on his campaign staff, number one. Number two, he was one of three individuals who went through the process of selecting the vice president and selected Biden. And number three, he was nominated and confirmed for Attorney General, which is the highest law enforcement officer in the state, who advises the president. So if that's not a conflict of interest, I don't know what it is. Now, other people are talking about Eric Holder should resign for other reasons, but I think this is a major reason, and I think we're getting to them. But now we need everyone out there. I don't care. You call me a birther. I don't care what you call me. But we need the people in the Tea Party. And the problem you have, like Wilnet Daily, they won't put Obama's name on their signs because they say it affects their tax status. You know when the law changes, Jack? The law is going to state if you have a candidate's name there, it could affect your tax status. But that changes in 2012. We're in now 2010. And also the Tea Party people who don't want the birth certificate issue, they're wrong.
Well, yeah, they don't want to lose their credibility. I mean, they're being attacked and called nutsuckers on a regular basis. I don't know what they have to lose. Phil, will you stay with me for a few more minutes on the other side of this break? And we'll just,
sure. I'd like to stay on. No, my pleasure.
All this up. Phil Berg with us, ObamaCrimes.com. I'm Jack Blood. This is American Freedom Radio. Stay with us. Well, thanks for staying with us. Some of you wrote me and said, you're not staying with us. You don't like this topic. It's not like we talk about it every day. I mean, of course, if you listen to this show enough, you'll hear me call the teleprompter reader-in-chief the alleged president. Well, I can't help it. I have questions. And you can call me names. Sticks and stones will break my bones. Names don't hurt me. I'm a birther and a deather then, if you like. I just have questions. I just want to see the answers. Phil has been, Phil Berg with us, tireless in this topic, not going away. Well, Phil, I hope you're wearing, body armor and you're being very careful, because that's one way to end all this. ObamaCrimes.com, Phil Berg with us. Phil wants you to send you a copy of his birth certificate, I guess, to show what, Phil, that the people actually have birth certificates? Is that the point here?
Well, the point is that people have to use them several times in their lifetime to prove basic things. And here, Obama, we know nothing about this person. I mean, the only thing we know is he's having wild parties at the White House. We know nothing about his medical history. We know nothing about his schools. I'm sure that he sealed his school records because they will show that he applied for and received foreign aid, either from Kenya, where he was born, or from Indonesia, where he was adopted. I mean, this guy is a complete phony. Another thing that goes, a Republican, and I have to get his name, you might know it, a Republican congressman from Florida introduced legislation stating that as of 2012, every candidate for president must prove that they're constitutionally qualified. And I think finally 7 or 10 other Republicans joined in with them, but no Democrats. Now, why wouldn't Democrats join in on that? You know why? Because they know, first of all of them have voted their violated their duties by voting on January 8th at the joint session of Congress to allowing the votes of the electors, because they know he's a phony. They know he's a fraud. They know where he's from. I mean, he has set himself up to be blackmailed by countries around the world.
Well, that is, that is a major problem, certainly.
I mean, think about it. When Iran gets this information, and it's out there, someone's selling this information, or when North Korea gets this information, what's it going to cost us? Or how about China? And maybe behind the scenes they're using this leverage against him because they know out there, we're the laughing stock. I knew a year and a half ago, I got from very confidential people over in England, that they know that even our CIA and FBI knows that he's a phony, but they don't have a responsibility to produce this to anybody. And it's a crime. Actually, what's going on in Washington is a crime because it borders on treason what the members of the House and Senate are doing by allowing him to be president.
Allegedly.
And the media, I wish I could sue the national media.
Let me ask you this, Phil. Let me play the devil's advocate here just for a second. And why go to all this trouble? I mean, he's not that good of a used car salesman. Maybe they thought he was. Maybe he thought that people would stay under this Kool-Aid forever. It apparently has already begun wearing off, even with his base. Well, why? It's like the people that say there are no planes that hit the World Trade Center tower. And I always say, why go to all that trouble where you could get caught? Why not just crash, hijack the planes, whatever, remote control the planes into the towers on 9/11? So why go to all this trouble? Why try to put this over on the American people when it's just so it's so hard to do without actually getting caught? As you mentioned, China probably has this information. So why do this? Why not just get someone else to be your used car salesman?
Well, because somehow that he's been nurtured for this position. Somehow, look, he's a fabulous speaker. I don't think he writes it. He's a fabulous speaker off the teleprompters. He's not the same.
Well, he was talking about the Navy corpsman today. I don't know if that's true, but go ahead.
I didn't have to check up on that. But they even had teleprompters when he went to a school, first grade class a few weeks ago. I mean, give me a break. I mean, he can't even.
Isn't it awful risky to try to pull this off?
Well, but they're thrilled. I mean, they pulled it off through the Senate race, and they pulled it off here. Somehow they decided. The national media decided, well, see, we don't have a free press. I laughed when George Bush, about a year and a half ago, questioned Putin and the free press. We don't have a free press in this country. I mean, thank God there's stations like yours and there's other people like yours around this country that can air topics like this. But if we had a free press, look what they did with Sarah Palin during the last 6 weeks of the campaign. They went back to Alaska. They went out under every rock, opened every drawer, and anything they could do, they questioned her about. Obama, think about it, listeners out there. They did nothing. They did nothing. This thing with the birth certificate a few months ago at the White House, they mentioned something, and they laughed it off. Well, it's not a laughing matter. I haven't gone away. I think the biggest thing that saves me for safety is the fact that if something happened to me, this story would come front page. I think that's the biggest safety factor.
Bill, you want to state here in our program that you are not contemplating suicide? You would never commit suicide, never take your own life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this world. My children, my grandchildren, and I love this country. And people, your listeners out there, we love this country because of the freedoms it has. And Obama and his crew is trying to take it away. And this is a disgrace. But who's trying to take it away? A usurper. They're looking for this new world order. New world order will only hurt all of us. I mean, recently they let who they let into our national security? Was it someone from overseas? I forget for a minute. Scotland Yard or something. They allowed in to get information from us. I mean, why? I mean, we shouldn't be giving up this information.
Yeah.
The Constitution, our Constitution. I'm doing this for our forefathers. I'm doing this for the 308 million people in this country. But I'm also doing it for the 3.2 million. 1.6 were killed and 1.6 million have been wounded in battle, defending this Constitution. Arnold Schwarzenegger says, people talk to him for the last 10, 15 years about running for president. And what does he say? He says, amend the Constitution. I was born in Austria. What does Barack Obama say? He basically says nothing, but by saying nothing, he's walking all over the Constitution. He's basically saying, I don't care about the Constitution. And this is a disgrace. Yeah. Eric Holder's a disgrace.
Let me ask you, I just had people are sending questions in via my email. You're welcome to do that at jackblood@hotmail.com. Phil, I don't have the phones open. I don't play with them too much here on our program these days. Here's the question that just came in from total411.info. Ask Phil why he doesn't acknowledge that Cousin Barry, as I call him, because he's Dick Cheney and George Bush's cousin. Ask Phil why he doesn't acknowledge that Cousin Barry is a prima facie ineligible due to the fact that his father was British, regardless of where he was born. That makes the birth certificate moot, particularly if one such as Phil accepts that Barack Sr. is the father. No one with a British father can be a natural-born citizen of the U.S. That's the question, Phil. It's over my head. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't buy that argument. Okay, I'll tell you why. Because when you get into natural-born status, there's laws in effect. And the law, for instance, if any of your listeners out there, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, are traveling any place in the world, and they have a child when they're out of the United States, if they have a child here in the United States, there's no question, natural-born. If they have a child outside the United States and both are U.S. citizens, when they return to the United States, going through immigration, getting a passport for the baby, that baby is considered natural-born. You get in a different situation. Congress has set up the law, and you go by the law at the time of the birth of the child. So August 4th, 1961, the law in effect at that time reversed into the 1950s, and it says if only one parent is a U.S. citizen, the one parent could have been the father, could have been the mother, in this case the mother. The U.S. citizen must have lived in our country, in the United States, for 10 straight years. His mother did. But then it says 5 of those years had to be after the age of 14. 14 and 5 is 19. She was only 18, so therefore she could not convey.
That's true. Hey, that's the law. And, you know, it's funny, and we mentioned this, I think, 1 or 2 times you've been on the program, that even the scholars have a hard time agreeing what a natural-born citizen means. So it is ambiguous a little bit. It is confusing. But, again, I mean, it shouldn't be hard to produce the birth certificate. Now what does Obama's aunt, who's in court fighting deportation now, his Kenyan aunt, Zaituni Onyango, does this have anything to do with anything?
Well, it just shows that, you know, she's an illegal alien. I think that, notice Obama doesn't run to the aid of her. Obama doesn't run to the aid of any
No,
family.
he's staying way out of this.
Now, how about Obama? Seriously, the fact I started mentioning his white grandmother, who supposedly died on election eve. Notice the press never interviewed her. She knows where he was born. Now, we have on our website, obamacrimes.com, in Swahili, his step-grandmother, Sarah Obama, and she says she was in the hospital when he was born in Mombasa, Kenya. Now, if that's not great evidence, I don't know what is.
They're liars. They're liars, Phil.
Well,
they're lying. Everyone's lying but Obama.
Sure, but also, how about right after they won? What did Kenya do? They had a national holiday.
Yeah.
You don't have a national holiday for a grandson. They had a national holiday for a son.
How's that working out for you, Kenya? They're about to invade Africa, okay, for humanitarian reasons.
Okay. And then how about the ambassador from Kenya when he was on with a Detroit radio talk show host? And he acknowledged, they asked about the birthplace. He said, oh, yeah, the birthplace, you know, everyone knows where it is. A couple of days later said, no, I didn't mean Obama. I meant I meant his father. Baloney. We know what he meant. Everyone knows what he meant. And the thing is, if he was born in Hawaii like Obama tries to say, where's the doctor? Where's the nurse? Where's the assistant? Where's someone from that delivery room who would still be alive today coming forth? Because you know they would get all kinds of recognition. Yeah. They're not coming forth because he wasn't born there. When his half-sister Maya was interviewed, one interview she said he was born at Capelina Hospital. The next interview said he was born at the other hospital. And then he writes a...
Yeah. I got to tell you, Phil, I'm not as convinced as you that is his father. But then again, that's... Do you think Bill Clinton is telling the truth about who his father is?
Sure.
You ever heard that he's Winthrop Rockefeller's illegitimate child?
No, I haven't heard that. Well, listen, you know what the thing is? I don't care who his father is. If his father's
different... Well, I mean, it makes a difference. If it's Frank Davis or it's Malcolm X or something, then he's legal.
Right. So then show us. But when I first filed my lawsuit, and I'll say it again today, Obama, for any of your people that are listening, and I know my phones are probably tapped, and so you know what I'm saying all the time. If you are natural born by whatever means, show it to me in the courts, prove it to me through the courts so we can go check the records, and I'll withdraw my lawsuits and I'll go away. But Obama, you're a phony, you're a fraud, you can't do it. This is the biggest hoax in our country, and it's a disgrace. And I seriously think we're getting to him when he mentioned it today at the National Prayer Breakfast when he said, and don't question my citizenship. I really think I'm making inroads. I think that, and now it's time for the American public to join behind me on this issue. I don't care who crosses the finish line, but he belongs out of office. He, Michelle Obama, Howard Dean, the former head of the Democratic National Committee, other officials of the Democratic National Committee, senior campaign officials, and now senior administration officials should all be subjected to the criminal justice system, tried. Those convicted should go to jail. Obama should be tried, go to jail, and then be deported. This is how serious this is. Now, I'll tell you how serious it is. We have a constitutional crisis. When we finally legally remove him from office, who becomes president? Is it Biden? Well, I doubt it, because years ago you used to have to find the amendment. Years ago you voted separate for president and vice president. Now, after a certain amount, you vote together. So if the ticket was fraudulent, Biden's out. Do we go back to January 8th when Congress violated their duties because you only needed one member of the House and one member of the Senate to hand something in written to question the Electoral College votes from any state, and they would have had to go break from the joint session, go back to their individual sessions. If they couldn't agree that everything was okay, the House and Senate each would nominate the vice president and president and move on from there. Or do we go back to December 15th when all the electors voted wrong because they could only vote for a qualified person for president? Or do we go back to November 8th and say that the voters and take the vote of the voters who voted for a qualified candidate? So we're in a constitutional crisis.
Well, that's the problem here, is that we might end up with Nancy Pelosi when this is all said and done. President Pelosi, that has a ring to it.
Yeah, but Pelosi, you just wind her up, and you don't know what she really thinks. Right now, they just tell her what to say.
She might not make it through this next election, Phil. We don't know. People aren't not very happy with the Pelosi's and Reeds of the world right now.
Listen,
put in office in 2006. They've been around 4 years, and they're still complaining that they're cleaning up Bush's mess. Give me a break.
Right. I'm a lifelong Democrat, for your listeners out there. You're right, former Deputy Attorney General of Pennsylvania. I ran for governor. I ran for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania in the Democratic primaries. The party people don't want me because I'm too independent. They want people who will kiss their butt. I won't do that.
Absolutely.
And then they throw out to me, hey, Berg, you're a racist. Well, I happen to be white, I happen to be Jewish, but I also happen to be a paid-up life member of the NAACP just for freedom, for rights.
You're just a self-hating Jew, Phil. Admit it.
Oh, no. Well, I can't admit that. What I am is I'm a man of principle, and the principle is more important than party loyalty, and that's why we need everyone to join in. And, yes, you were right about the 9/11. I was there because concrete and steel buildings do not come down from fire from a plane.
Phil Berg with us on the program today, ObamaCrimes.com. Phil, I hope to see you at the Treason in America conference here the weekend of the March 6th and 7th. I'll be out there. I guess you're in the neighborhood. Come by. Let's have a drink.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for talking. Good for talking. ObamaCrimes.com, Phil Berg. We just had to give you that update. Don't hold it against us. We'll be right back.